Alright, this is going to be a update video on the PTR 91. This time featuring Zeta. He's a stray we're trying to assimilate into the clan. So, last time I forgot a few things that I wanted to mention, but if I can get my list from underneath the cat, I made a list of things I wanted to talk about this time, so I won't forget. So, what the fuck are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? You're so cute. Anyway, there's some things I kind of forgot to mention last time, but as usual, I'm doing this on a cell phone. I have no video editing software, and it's going straight to YouTube, so you get one take, and one take only, and that's it. So, this is my second time out shooting this one. Went to ETTS down in Waxahachie, which is like a fucking hour drive for me, but such is the case with DFW. We have just an assload of golf courses within the Metroplex, but very few long-distance ranges. So, explain that. But then again, I'm not a city planner. So, this time I do have a handy-dandy camera holder thing. So, I can go hands-free this time and use these to grab stuff like this, which we will get to later. So, nifty. And if I can get Zeta out of here. Go over here, bud. So, he's not exactly, I don't want to say house-trained or anything like that. He's an outdoor cat. He doesn't understand he really can't be around guns and kitchen appliances and TVs and shit, so he thinks he can just go wherever the fuck he wants. Anyway, on to problems with the rifle. First off, did have one failure to go into battery. So, and that was with this little bugger right here, and with this magazine. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but we can get this thing to focus. There we go. I don't know if it was a double feed, or maybe I was just running it a little too hot, too quick, or what, but, you know, just pulled the trigger, nothing happened, so went to eject, and, some of the rounds were a little bungled up in there, and this is from where the bolt scraped the shit out of the top of this round. And this is the surplus Malaysian L2A2 ball ammunition made in '81 that I got off of AIM Surplus. So it's halfway decent ammo. But it was cheap, which is why I bought it. And it's FMJ. Come on. Focus, focus, focus. Come on, camera. It's FMJ, but it's also bimetal, which is the main reason. I think I mentioned it last time. I can't shoot it indoors because it'll spark off the backstop. And a lot of the ranges that are within the Metroplex don't want me shooting FMJ because it'll have a tendency to ricochet, either off of the ground or off of the top of the berm and just kind of go wherever the fuck, and because most of those ranges are only go out to either 50 or 100 yards, there's a big risk of a very high velocity round, even after the ricochet, landing somewhere you really don't want to. So, that's why, you know, I had to go so far out. Waxahachie is a good hour drive for me. That's why I had to go so far out, just to be able to shoot this stuff at a decent distance. So, but you can see right here what I mean by a bimetal jacket. So you have the steel jacket underneath that very, very thin copper coating, and I'm not sure if they do it by electroplating or if they just stick it in a big-ass tumbler full of copper and kind of put a wash on it or what. I know there's a couple different methods. I'm not sure exactly what was used to make this stuff. But you can see what I'm talking about right there. So obviously I didn't fire this round just because it's completely knackered and is a no-go. So, and went ahead and set this magazine aside. It is marked for repair. And what I mean by repair is I'm going to hit it with some WD-40 and try it again. So, these were the groups I was able to do using, and again, I went to finish kind of sighting in the rifle at 100 and 200. This is at 200 yards. I'd previously sighted in at 50, and the Vortex scope on the mount that comes with it did hold. So I just kind of had to do some fine tuning. You can see these the black circles are from where I had to kind of finish adjusting it. It was pulling right still. I had to do one click left, and that kind of went ahead and finished centering everything. Now, I know this looks like a rather large spread. It's about, I'm going to call it 6 or 7 inches or so. So it's not fantastic, but you have to bear in mind I'm using a Vortex 3 power scope out at 200 yards, so at that distance, this entire target is like meh, this big. And that's also why I was firing such large groups. I went ahead and just did an entire magazine to get a decent representation of where the rounds were landing, and I'm happy with where the scope is actually set, and ignore the couple of flyers I have out here. And then this is the second group that I fired, and you can see I'm starting to pull my shots and really send some flyers out, whereas yeah, like even way up here. So after this I decided that I was getting a little too fatigued, and no, really it was just going to get worse from here, so I decided to just go ahead and pack it up, because I had been out there for several hours already and had gone through let's see, 7 magazines. So 7 times 20, that's 140 rounds. Hey, no, stop dicking with stuff. 140 rounds by the end of this. So I decided that was plenty, and again, I had gotten the rifle where I wanted it as far as elevation and windage, so it was just time to go ahead and pack it up. And the cat's just licking the back of my head right now. So, but onto the rifle itself. Functioned great except for that one failure to go to the battery. And again, don't exactly know what happened with that. What's up, Zeta? I see you're back. Don't touch the phone. Don't touch the phone. Hi, I love you. Functioned great except for that one little hiccup. I did not pre-lube it beforehand, so it just had the all the transmission fluid kind of left on it from the last time I cleaned it. I do run everything wet though, so it didn't have any problem running out of anything like that. The recoil on it is not... son of a bitch. The recoil on it's not bad. Here, you need to just kind of fuck off for just a little bit, bud. Oh god. The recoil on it's not bad. It is a 308. It's not your daughter's 223. So there's that. But it's by no means unmanageable. Whenever you're standing up with it, it's perfectly fine. Get the fuck off the wine rack right now. Goddamn cats. It's by no means unmanageable, but I will say that I understand completely why people are, wanting to get muzzle brakes on these, because right now, as it comes from PTR, you just have the standard flash suppressor, which doesn't do anything for recoil mitigation. So whenever you're, like, if I was just shooting iron sights out of this thing, I wouldn't change it at all, because I'd only really be wanting to reach out to 100 yards or so, maybe 200 on occasion, and that's it. But looking through an optic, it does leave something to be desired as far as being able to get back on target quickly. So I'm gonna look into different muzzle brakes, and I don't want to get something that's like super aggressive. That's just gonna piss off the people in the bays next to me, and B is gonna make just a huge fuck goddamn phone. And B is gonna make a son of a bitch. Sorry. The handy dandy cell phone holder is not wanting to cooperate. So okay, so I don't want something that's gonna make like a massive concussive force off to the sides, and I also don't want something that's gonna make a huge fucking fireball. For two reasons. One, yeah, it's a little selfish in my opinion to be a nuisance on the range at the just to have like that little bit of recoil mitigation. And two, this is my shit hits the fan rifle. So if I am in a situation where you're having to fight actual people, if it ever comes to that, I don't want a gigantic fireball announcing, "Hey, I'm over here," and I also don't want to be blowing out the eardrums of the guys fighting next to me. So I need to look into something that kind of works as a suppressor, flash suppressor, and muzzle brake at the same time, even if it means I don't get the the best recoil control out of it. And I know there's one brake. I want to say it's the Precision Armament M47 or M72, something or other. Really awesome looking brake, but it has like the almost like gill looking things on it. And whoever it is that did the, I think it's the Firearm or the Truth About Guns, that did the muzzle brake. Hey, get the fuck out of the blinds! No, hey, come here, god damn it! 1 second, put him in the other room. Jesus Christ. Whoever did the that muzzle brake shootout, whatever brake it was that won, looks awesome, and obviously does a great deal to control the amount of recoil, but I could not, in good conscience, purchase that brake and then shoot it around people, especially at any kind of rifle bay where you have others in close proximity. There's just no way. So need to find kind of a happy medium somewhere in there. So past that, the trigger. So the safety, you have safe, fire, and fire again. These are the surplus trigger packs from, I believe these are from the G3s. Now, of course, that would normally be your full auto switch, and then semi-auto, and then safety. But because we live in America, these are both fire, and then that's safe. As far as the trigger goes, it is a military trigger. So you have that little bit of play right here, and I want to say it's like an 11-pound-ish trigger. I don't have one of the little fancy tool things or anything like that, but it's you don't have a ton of take-up at all. I mean, so you have that little bit of play right there, and then from here to about here, that's all the take-up you have, and you kind of hit a wall. And you really notice it whenever you're trying to lay down precision shots, that wall is very, very pronounced. Because you're trying to hold the rifle still and really, really concentrate on your shot placement. There's a definite wall right before it breaks, and then right about there is where it breaks. So it's one of those things. Is it a quote match trigger or a competition trigger? Absolutely not. Is it terrible? No. No. There are much worse triggers out there. The stock one in my G20, for example, is 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 god awful compared to this, which is why I'm getting a ZevTech replacement here on Tuesday. So so I will take this any day over some of the other triggers that I felt. It's just something to kind of get used to. That being said, because the take up is so short, you can actually once you get your sight picture in, just go ahead and just pull it. Just be quick about it, and it's not really going to mess up your shots. And it got to the point where even today, excuse me, even today, after I started getting pretty tired, and you squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and try to be gentle with it, and just kind of nothing happens, I got to the point where as soon as I got the sight picture, I just pop it and just get it over with. Because there's not a lot of room for that trigger to there's not a lot of space or travel right there, so there's not a lot of room for error. And just making shots at 100 or 200 yards, you're not gonna fuck up your shot that bad. Even if you, I don't want to say jerk it, but even if you just do a quick pull like that, you're really not gonna mess up. Especially with the weight of this damn rifle, it's pretty hard to have that little bit of an impulse really mess things up. And speaking of, son of a bitch, my cell phone stand is not working at all how I intended. Speaking of weight of the rifle, I don't have it fully assembled, obviously, but it's right around, fully loaded, and with all the shit I have on it, like the Vortex optic, the cheek riser, I think that's it. As far as accessories, the strap I'm not going to count because that actually helps with holding the damn thing up. But fully loaded, I'd put it right around 15 or so pounds. And I'm a fairly large individual, so I, don't mind having a heavy rifle. But it is one of those things that if you're standing up and having to, manipulate this thing, you do notice it. It's not like having an AR or a custom AR-10 that somebody's really put a lot of thought into and lightening up or anything like that. It is really something that you're going to want to, if you're having to actually fight with it, you're going to want to, get your shots off and then, find cover or find something to rest it up against and then get some more shots off. It really is more of a designated marksman's rifle. It really is more suited to that particular role. So, and then this handguard right here it comes with a GI model, and I can't remember what other models it comes with. I think there's one other one that comes with like a black version of this, but it's that Milsurp plastic shit. And I like the way it looks, I'll give it that. And it's comfortable as long as you don't start really pumping rounds through it. Because after, like, say you do a mag dump, this thing gets just ridiculously hot. Hot to the point where you really can't hold on to it unless you're wearing gloves. So, now, that being said, it is fairly easy to replace. There's just a pin right here up in the front, just like your standard takedown pins. You just pop that out and the whole thing just comes off, and then you can get other fore-ends on hkparts.net or source them wherever the hell else. That is an HK standard or G3 standard sized, so any G3 surplus fore-end will fit it. They run I want to say 100, 125, somewhere in there, depending on which one you get. I have seen people get the wider handguards and get those. But for me, just for the expense, I'm gonna put that money into a muzzle brake, and and a pair of gloves if I need to, and just kind of roll with it as it is for now. The other thing I really wanted to mention is and I've fucked with it a little bit already, so unfortunately you can't really see it too well, especially since it's not wanting to focus that much. But those of you who have watched my previous video, focus, you motherfucker, know that I use transmission fluid as the lube in this gun, as I do all my others. So the little pocket Makarov, no exception. And yes, this one is loaded, safety on, carry at home. So, and this one has had no issues running on transmission fluid. So, but this one, on the other hand, especially after the last time I took it down and cleaned it, I noticed that quite a lot of shit had gotten dried out and caked up right around here on the bolt face. This thing is just not going to cooperate. Now, in most of my, or all my other guns, and even in other parts of this one, you can see right here, it'll just wipe away. So, but for whatever reason, right around here on the bolt head, it gets very, very scorched. I'm not sure if it's the temperature or the, maybe it's just the pressure of the cartridge. God, this thing does not want to... motherfucker. Let's see. Yeah, okay. It's anyway, it seems to just kind of cake up and get real there. Oh, no, yes, okay. It seems to just get real hard and shitty. There we go. So, I mean, I can get it off with my fingernail, but last time, and I applied a shitload more of it this time to the bolt face itself, but last time I had to really get in there with a toothbrush, and it took me quite a while to actually clean that out. And the chamber itself, which is way up here, took even longer to do because it is such a bitch to get to. So, you know, I might switch to something like, I've heard that Slip 2000 works really well. You know, it's something I'm going to definitely consider. So just because I've not run into that issue with any of my other guns, but the fact that it is turning hard or leaving hard carbon deposits in this particular one might mean that, you know, I've seen or at least reached the limitations of you know, the trans fluid as a lube. So you know, I'm gonna look into maybe finding something else and kind of switching everything over to that. So the other thing I wanted to mention is, because this is a blowback system, and try to ignore the cat in the background, you do get where everything blows back to is up here in the receiver. All of this is burnt powder and unburnt powder as well, and a little bit of dust here and there. So you can leave that and to kind of get you guys down in here. I know it's a little bright, but you can see in here it'll just wipe off perfectly fine. So that's still wet, and I did go ahead and lube this up quite well because I had not done that before I took it out for the first time shooting, and then noticed that there's a shitload of carbon back up in there. I didn't realize that was going to be one of the deposit spots, but it goes all the way through the receiver, all the way back up in there. Now, it's something to note. Whatever lube you're using, go ahead and throw it back up in there. But it's not something I would consider an issue. That's where your bolt carrier group rides. So that's this thing right here. So all that rides up in the receiver, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's overly tight or overly loose. Like, you can, after you take the bolt and firing pin assembly out, you can stick the you can stick this back up in there and manipulate it by hand. You can move it back and forth by hand, but you can't really rock it side to side. So it's not like this thing is just, it's not like an AK where it's just loose as shit and you can just fucking wiggle it around and knock it about and all that. So it's not sloppily in there, but there is enough space for it to be able to, there is enough space for it to be able to have all of that extra unburnt powder and bullshit and just crap up in the receiver and be able to function perfectly fine. So they really did think about it with this design and know that a lot of that, because of the blowback design of it, they know that, you know, they're going to be catching all of this burnt powder, and it's just, it has to have somewhere to go, and they left somewhere for it to go. Yeah, but the rifle functions just fine. Again, I put 140 rounds through it today, with only one issue, and I do think that is more magazine related than anything. So, or maybe just, you know, I had a slightly weaker load. Speaking of the ammunition, these are 146 or 147 grain projectiles. I can't remember exactly what but they're on the lighter side, definitely, as far as what you can get. And I think that might have something to do with the spread that I'm getting. And of course, you know, I'm fairly new to using this weapon system, so that might be part of it as well. I mean, the barrel's been broken in. It's not that. I know the rifle is more than capable of shooting better groups. So, but here in the very near future, I'm going to go ahead and get something that's a little heavier and probably in the 165 grain territory, and probably a boat tail. I don't want to say like necessarily match grade ammo, because it's, you know, I don't want to be spending $1 a round. But if I can find something that's either surplus or I don't know if I want to do new production, but, you know, if AIM surplus or SG ammo or military shooters has something that pops up in the near future that, yeah, again, is a heavier grain bullet, and, you know, boat tail or hollow point boat tail would be a definite mark in its favor also. That's like around 50 cents a round. Then I'll go ahead and scoop that up as well, just to kind of see if I can get some better accuracy out of this thing. Because, you know, shooting 7-inch groups at 200 yards, I think that comes out to 3.5 MOA, or 3 MOA at least. And I'm pretty sure this rifle is capable of better than that. So, you know, and again, I know part of it is me, you know, using only a 3-power scope to try to reach out that far, but, you know, I think a big part of it might be the, just the ammo, so, but more to come, in the future as I take it out, more often. So, coming months are going to be pretty busy for me, so, but then again, I think it's been a month and a half or 2 months since my last video, so, you know, there's that. Alright, if you have any questions or comments, leave them. I'll get to them as I see fit. You know how I've been in the last video, so if you've watched that one, I'm pretty terrible about getting around to that kind of shit. So, this is Galagnar the Destroyer, signing off on YouTube. Have a nice day.